Most lightworkers report hearing a high-pitched ringing sound in one ear. It's a shrill noise that can be painful and intrusive. When checked by a physician, tinnitus, which is a disturbance of the auditory nerve, is usually ruled out. That's because the ringing is of a non-physical origin. The ringing is a band of woven information encoded in electrical impulses. Heaven downloads guidance, assistance, and information through this bandwidth. It sounds like a computer modem hooking into the internet. Sometimes the ringing is accompanied by a pinching or pulling sensation on the earlobe. This happens when the angels and guides especially want our attention. You don't need to consciously understand the message encoded within the ringing sound. You just need to commit to receiving it. This information will be stored in your unconscious, where it will positively influence your actions, ensuring that you don't procrastinate with respect to your lightworker mission. The ringing sound is actually an answer to your prayers for guidance about your life's mission. But if it becomes too loud, painful, or intrusive, mentally tell your angels that the ringing sound is hurting you and ask them to turn down the volume. The information will still be transmitted to you. It will just come to you in a quieter fashion. If the earlobe pinching or pulling becomes painful, please tell your angels and guides about the pain and ask them to stop. When I requested that my angels and guides please turn down the volume of the ringing and to please stop hurting me with earlobe pinching, I was never again bothered by loud ringing or painful ears. The angels certainly aren't offended by our requests. They need our feedback so that they can best know how to help us. We are all naturally psychic, and that includes clairaudience and all of the other clairs. We usually find, however, that each person possesses one primary channel of divine communication. Some people are naturally auditory, and the first thing they observe when they meet someone new is the sound of that person's voice. Some people are naturally visual, and the first thing they notice in new acquaintances is that person's appearance, including their movements and actions. Those who are naturally feeling-oriented notice how new people make them feel, whether that new person touches them, and even how the fabric of their clothing feels and how the person smells. Thinking-oriented individuals are aware of whether a new person is interesting, intelligent, potentially helpful in their career, or logical. If you're naturally auditory, you already hear the voice of God and your angels. However, if this isn't your primary channel of divine communication, you may struggle to hear heaven's voice. You may read about accounts of people who hear warnings or messages from their angels and wonder, why don't my angels talk to me? Well, here are several methods that can help you hear the voice of the divine loud and clear. First is clearing the ear chakras. Each of the psychic senses is governed by a chakra energy center. As we've discussed, clairsentience or feeling is regulated by the heart chakra. Claircognizance or thinking is connected to the crown chakra, while clairaudience or hearing is governed by the two ear chakras. And next we will talk about the third eye's connection to clairvoyance or seeing. The ear chakras are located above the eyebrows, inside the head. They appear to be a violet-red color. Imagine two violet-red discs spinning clockwise above your eyebrows. See or feel an image of sending them beams of cleansing white light. See or feel this white light illuminating the ear chakras from the inside. Notice how clean and large the ear chakras are becoming. Repeat this method daily, or whenever you feel that your psychic hearing is clogged. If you've been verbally abused by others or by your own self-deprecating talk, your ear chakras are probably clogged with toxins from the negative words directed towards you. Mentally ask your angels to surround you with comforting energy. You can release the pent-up negativity in your ear chakras by writing down the names of those who have verbally abused you, including yourself, and putting the paper in a plastic container of water. Then, put this container into the freezer compartment of your refrigerator. You'll have an immediate sense of release as you put these names in the freezer. Keep them in the freezer for a minimum of 3 months. By the way, this is a wonderful method of releasing any kind of problem. You can also reopen tuned-out frequencies. When you were a kid, did you tune out the voice of your mom, your dad, your teacher, or some other person, including yourself? As a child, your ability to shut out incessant nagging or other verbal unpleasantries may have been your only available defense mechanism. The trouble is, though, you may have tuned out all the other voices in the frequency range of those you originally tuned out. So you may have difficulty hearing a heavenly voice that is in the same pitch or tone of your mother, for instance. You might not hear your higher self's voice if you tuned your own voice out long ago. Fortunately, you can simply change your mind to reopen your physical and spiritual ears to the full range of frequencies. Since your firm intention to shut out sound was the origination of the blockage, simply make a different firm intention to now hear all ranges of sound frequencies. You can also increase your sensitivity to sound. Take time each day to notice the sounds around you. Tune in to the sound of birds singing, children laughing, and cars driving by, for instance. Also notice the sounds that accompany ordinary behaviors, such as turning the pages of a book, writing a note, or even breathing. By paying attention to subtle and not so subtle sounds in your environment, you heighten your sensitivity to the voices of the angels and your guides. Be sure to protect your physical ears. As your sensitivity to the sound frequency of the angels increases, you will find that loud noises will bother you more than they did before. You'll need to cover your ears when you're in an airplane that's landing, and avoid front row seats at loud rock concerts, for instance. You'll also need to ask friends to speak more quietly to you on the telephone, request restaurant tables that are far away from noisy groups of people, and secure hotel rooms positioned far from the elevator and ice machines. And of course, ask your angels. You know, some people have quiet angels and introverted spirit guides. Just like when you're having a conversation with a living person, don't be afraid to ask whomever you're conversing with, "Would you please speak a little louder?" Our celestial friends really want to communicate with us, and they need our honest feedback to help guide them in knowing the best way to make their voices heard. My mother, Joan Hannon, was having difficulty hearing her angels and guides, so she asked them to please speak louder. But she still couldn't hear them, so Mom said in a powerful voice, "Please speak even louder." She then heard her grandmother's voice say very loudly to her, "I'm right here." My great-grandmother seemed to mean, "You don't have to yell, I'm standing right next to you and I can hear you just fine." Please remember that you are always in control of your divine communication. And if you want heaven to turn the volume or intensity of your auditory messages up or down, just ask. Next, we'll explore the world of clairvoyance and look at ways to help you see angels and heaven-sent messages. The angels wish to connect with you visually as much or more than you wish to connect with them. They are helping us communicate with them by making their presence known clearly. My books, Angel Visions and Angel Visions 2, both published by Hay House, contain dozens of stories about people who have had visual contact with angels. Many of my psychic development students mistakenly believe that clairvoyance means seeing angels as clear, opaque figures who look as solidly three-dimensional as living persons. They expect their visions to be outside of their head instead of a mental image in their mind's eye. Yet, most examples of clairvoyance are similar to the mental pictures that you see in your mind when you're daydreaming or having a nocturnal dream. Just because the image is in your mind's eye doesn't make the vision less real or valid. When I explain this to my students, they often exclaim, "Oh, so I am seeing angels after all." With clear intention and practice, most people can develop the ability to see angels outside of their mental sphere with their eyes open. In other words, you'll look at a person and see an angel clearly hovering over that person's shoulders. However, usually beginning clairvoyants must close their physical eyes while looking at a person. Then, in their mind's eye, the beginning clairvoyant sees images of that person's guardian angels. Some people see lights or colors in the beginning stages of their clairvoyance. Others see fleeting visions of an angel's head or wings. Some individuals see the angels as translucent and colorless, or opalescent, with shimmering colors radiating from them. Still others see angels as full-figured beings, complete with brightly colored hair and clothing. During stressful times or following intense prayer, some people will have vivid angel encounters, similar to an apparition experience. With their eyes wide open and while fully awake, the person sees an angel. That angel may look like a human being or may take on a traditional angelic image with a gown and wings. The angel is clearly there. The person may even touch or hear the angel and not realize that it's a non-human until after the angel disappears. Other ways in which we see the angels include dreams. Dr. Ian Stevenson of the University of Virginia has cataloged thousands of cases of dream visitations in which people have interacted with their deceased loved ones or angels during a dream. Dr. Stevenson says that degree of vividness is the characteristic that distinguishes mere dreams from true visitations. That would include vivid colors, intense emotions, and a more than real feeling to the dream. When you awaken from a dream visitation, the experience stays with you longer than an ordinary dream. You may remember explicit details about a dream visitation many years after it occurs. Also, angel lights. Seeing sparkles or flashes of light indicates that angels are nearby. You're seeing the energy sparks as the angels move across your field of vision. This effect is similar to seeing sparks from the back of a car. It's simply friction, and it means that your spiritual sight is adjusted to seeing energy waves. About half of my audience members at any given seminar around the world report seeing those sparkles and light flashes on a regular basis. Many people are reluctant to publicly admit seeing these lights for fear that they're hallucinating. They're not. Seeing angel lights is a very real and normal experience. You might also see a colored mist. Seeing a green, purple, or other colored mist is a sign that you're in the presence of angels. There's also angel clouds, where you look up in the sky and notice a cloud in the shape of an angel. This is another way that the angels let us know that they're with us. In addition, you might see signs. This would include finding a feather, a coin, noticing a stopped clock, moved objects in your home, lights flickering, the television set turning off or on independently, or other visual oddities that let you know that an angel is saying, "Hello, I'm here." Deceased loved ones often make their presence known by sending birds, butterflies, moths, or specific flowers to you. Or you might see a vision. Seeing a mental movie that provides you with true information about a person or situation, or that gives you guidance about your life purpose or making changes, is a sign of being in the presence of angels. So is glimpsing a brief image of something symbolic. An energy center between our two physical eyes, known as the third eye chakra, regulates the amount and intensity of our clairvoyance. Opening the third eye is an essential component of seeing across the veil into the spirit world. Here are the 7 steps to opening your third eye chakra. First, affirm to yourself, "It is safe for me to see." Say this affirmation repeatedly, and if you sense any tension or fear while saying it, breathe deeply. With each exhalation, imagine blowing out your fears about being clairvoyant. Second, take a clear quartz crystal and hold it in your dominant hand. This is the hand that you favor when writing. Imagine a beam of white light coming from above and going into your crystal. Hold the intention that this white light is now clearing your crystal of any negativity that it may have absorbed. Third, hold that clear quartz crystal, still in your dominant hand, just slightly above the space that is in between your two eyebrows. Move your middle finger so that it's pointing through the crystal towards your third eye, which is between your two physical eyes and slightly above your eyebrows. Fourth, then take your non-dominant hand, which is the hand you normally don't write with, and place the middle finger of that hand at the highest point on the back, not the top, of your head. Fifth, imagine a powerful and bright lightning bolt coming from your dominant hand's middle finger. The lightning bolt goes through your third eye and then ends up at your non-dominant hand's middle finger. You are making a battery circuit with your dominant hand sending energy and your non-dominant hand receiving the energy. As the energy runs through your head, it's clearing away psychic debris and awakening your third eye. This process normally takes 1 to 2 minutes, and you may feel some pressure in your head, or warmth in your fingers, or tingling in your hands. Those are normal sensations from the energy work involved. 6. Next, put your right hand above your right ear, still holding the crystal in your dominant hand. Do the same thing with your left hand above your left ear. Now imagine white light coming out of your dominant hand's middle finger. Slowly move both hands simultaneously toward the highest part of the back of your head. Keep repeating this motion 7 times in a sweeping motion. Hold the intention of hooking the back of your third eye, which looks just like the back of a physical eye, to the occipital lobe, which is at the back of your head. The occipital lobe is the area of the brain that registers awareness and recognition of your visions. It looks like a thin, round skull cap that you're wearing, angled on the back of your head. With the white light, you're excavating a huge 5-inch chamber extending from the back of your third eye all the way to your occipital lobe. This chamber connects the flow of vision from your third eye to the visual part of your brain. In this way, you will be more aware of the visions that you have, and you'll also understand their meaning. I've worked with many people who had clean, open third eyes, and yet they complained of having no or limited clairvoyance. Having a clean and open third eye is not enough to ensure clairvoyance. Without the connection between the third eye and the occipital lobe, a person wouldn't be aware of or understand their visions. It's like showing a movie without having the projector light on. And 7. The final step is to put the middle finger of your dominant hand on top of the crystal over your third eye, which is slightly above the area between your two physical eyes. You are going to lift any shields that you may have put over your third eye. With feathery, upward stroking movements, coax the shield to lift like you're opening a window blind. Be sure to breathe while you're performing this step. Holding your breath will slow the process. Repeat the shield lifting at least 7 times or until you sense that any shields are lifted. You can perform this process on another person. If you know someone who is spiritual and open-minded, especially someone who has experience performing energy healings, have them conduct this process on you. While these 7 steps can be self-administered, their power is amplified when another person with clear intention, meaning with a minimum of skepticism, performs them on you. After you or another person administers these 7 steps, you should notice a marked improvement in your mental visions. When you close your eyes and imagine a garden, for instance, you will probably see stronger and more vivid colors and pictures than you did before the procedure. Your nighttime dreams may also become more vivid and memorable, and your photographic memory will most likely increase. Again, the images you see may not appear as something outside of yourself. The mental movies may play on a screen that's inside your head. With practice, you'll be able to project and see those images outwardly. However, whether the visions are in your mind's eye or external is irrelevant. I find that my psychic accuracy is identical whether it's a mental image or something that I see outside of my head. The location of the vision isn't important. What matters is that you notice and give attention to the images because they're so often visual messages from our angels. If, after going through the 7-step procedure, you still find that your mental pictures are lesser in size, clarity, or color than you desire, then you probably have some fears blocking you. These fears are entirely normal, and they can be readily cured whenever you're ready. For instance, you may be afraid of losing control. You may worry that if you open your clairvoyance, you'll be overwhelmed with visions of angels and dead people everywhere you go. You may also fear that God will try to control you or make unacceptable plans for you. The truth is that clairvoyance is like a television set that you can turn on, turn off, or dim as you wish. And God's will for you is identical to your higher self's will for you. The big plan has lots of happiness and plenitude in store for you. Plus, you'll find greater meaning in all areas of your life. Or perhaps you fear seeing something spooky. You can't stand haunted houses or monster movies, and you don't want to see anything smacking of ghouls or goblins floating around your house. However, if you've been able to watch the movie The Sixth Sense with your eyes open, you've probably seen the worst. The spirit world is beautiful, something that Hollywood hasn't caught on to yet. Even the earthbound spirits and fear thought forms, which are the so-called fallen angels, aren't half as bad as the average big screen rendition of life after death. Most deceased people look radiant, youthful, and exude happiness. After all, wouldn't you look wonderful if you knew that you never again had to pay another bill? Maybe you're afraid of being fooled. You worry, what if it's my imagination and I'm just making all this up? Or worse, what if I'm contacted by lower world spirits who are posing as my guardian angels? However, the reason why studies show that children have the most verifiable psychic experiences is because they don't get hung up on worrying whether or not it's their imagination. Joan of Arc is quoted as saying to her inquisitors who asked her if she was imagining hearing the voice of God, "Of course God speaks to me through my imagination. How else would he speak to me?" In other words, just because it's our imagination doesn't mean it isn't real, valid, or accurate. Sometimes I'm asked, aren't you worried about being fooled by a demon masquerading as an angel? This question implies that demons shop at costume stores, drape themselves in white feathers, and boom, wrap us around their claw-tipped fingers. The fact is that there are lower world energies and beings whom I wouldn't invite to my home for dinner, just like there are living people whom I choose not to hang out with. But this is no reason to shield yourself from seeing clairvoyantly. I mean, if I asked you if you'd rather walk down a dark alley on the wrong side of town at midnight or high noon, of course you'd say noon, right? And the reason? So that you can see who's there, of course. Well, the same holds true for the spirit world. Since those unsavory beings are there anyway, wouldn't you rather be able to see who the players are so that you can call on Archangel Michael to act as a bouncer at your home's front door, ensuring that no one gets through without proper ID, and identifying them as a being of high integrity and a bigger inner light? The inner light is the best indicator of a being's integrity, whether they're a living person or someone in the spirit world. With clairsentience, you can sense a person's character. With claircognizance, you just know that someone is of high integrity or not. And with clairvoyance, you can literally see the glowing light within. So-called fallen beings in the spirit world can't mimic the huge glowing light that emanates from the belly and radiates upward and outward. These beings could put on an Archangel Michael costume, but they would lack the essential element, the bright aura that results from living a life of divine love. In this respect, clairvoyance helps us screen our friends in the physical and non-physical worlds and actually keeps us safe from harm. Another concern that may block clairvoyance is that you may worry that clairvoyance is the devil's work and that God will punish you for sinning. This fear is often based on Old Testament quotes warning about wizards, mediums, and speaking with the dead. Yet in the New Testament, we find Jesus and many others talking with the dead and to angels as well. St. Paul, in his letters to Corinthians, exclaimed that we all have the gift of prophecy and that we should aspire to these spiritual gifts as long as they're used with love. And that's the distinction, isn't it? The Manual for Teachers in the Course in Miracles says that psychic abilities can be used in service of the ego, which it says is the only devil in the world, by the way, or of the Holy Spirit. In other words, we can use clairvoyance for love or for fear. If you use this tool in the service of God and for healing purposes, there is nothing to fear. You will find that other people's judgments simply roll right off of you. Or you may fear being ridiculed, or being dubbed crazy, weird, a know-it-all, too sensitive, or dealing with the judgmental attitudes of fundamentalist relatives. The truth is, though, that you're probably a light worker or an indigo child, that is, someone who feels compelled to make the world a better place from a spiritual perspective. Light workers and their younger counterparts, the indigo children, very often feel like they're different or that they don't belong. When people tease you about your spiritual interests or gifts, it compounds that feeling even more. If you were teased during childhood, you may have unhealed emotional wounds associated with various types of ridicule. Ask your angels to intervene and follow their guidance if they suggest that you seek professional help. Another fear that blocks clairvoyance is in taking a clear-eyed look at your current life and being unprepared to make life changes if you see something that you don't like about your life. That is, wanting to remain in denial. It is true that clairvoyance may increase your awareness of parts of your life that aren't working. It's also true that taking an inventory may increase your dissatisfaction in certain ways. However, taking an inventory of your relationships, career, health, or some other life area doesn't automatically require you to make an immediate 180-degree turn and fix everything at once. Dissatisfaction is a powerful motivator toward taking steps to improve things. It inspires you to, for instance, take up jogging, eat more healthfully, see a marriage counselor, or devise other methods for healing your life. You may also be wary of foreseeing planetary or social changes that may seem frightening. However, if you see these events and you're absolutely certain that they aren't coming from your ego, then you will have a better picture of your lightworker mission. You will be specifically guided as to how you can help the planet to avoid or to cope with these changes. For instance, you may be called upon to pray for peace, to send healing energy, to anchor the light in various places, to teach other lightworkers, or to heal those who are affected by the changes. While such an assignment may seem daunting and intimidating, remember that you signed up for it prior to your incarnation. And God and the angels wouldn't have given you such a monumental assignment unless they knew that you could do it. They also provide you with full support along the way, as long as you ask for it and are open to receiving that help. You may also fear that clairvoyance will give you too much responsibility. In foreseeing a negative situation, you may wonder, am I supposed to intervene? Yet, earth angels like you are usually just asked to pray about a situation, unless it's a very special assignment. And if you are supposed to intervene or warn someone, you will be given very clear instructions about what to do. You may also fear failure concerning your clairvoyance. This involves worrying that you're an imposter, unqualified to be psychic or to perform spiritual healing, wondering whether you really have any angels, and if you do, whether you will be able to contact them. However, everyone feels like an imposter from time to time. Psychologists actually call this fear the imposter syndrome. Research shows that some of the most competent, successful people are prone to experiencing this condition. It doesn't mean that you are an imposter. It just means that you're comparing your insides, which feel anxious in new situations, to everyone else's outsides, which appear to be calm, cool, and collected. The ego, or lower self, uses sleight-of-hand fears, such as this one, to distract us from remembering who we are and from working on our life purpose. Sometimes the blocks to clairvoyance are rooted in our distant past. Even people who don't believe in reincarnation will agree that significant events in history are still affecting our world today. One of these events is the Spanish Inquisition, in which thousands of people were burned, hung, tortured, and robbed during the 15th century because they held spiritual beliefs or practices that were contrary to the reigning church. The pain of that event still reverberates in the present day, as ancient echoes that cry, "Conform to accepted spiritual beliefs or suffer the consequences." Fear is the result, as well as staying in the spiritual closet, which leads you to keep your psychic abilities and spiritual beliefs a secret. But how do you know if a past life wound is blocking your clairvoyance? Well, the signs include the following. You consider yourself non-visually oriented, that is, you don't visualize easily, you rarely remember dreams, and you don't really focus on how people or things look. You've had few, if any, psychic visions. You feel tense or worried every time you think about opening up your clairvoyance. You have an undefined sense of anxiety about becoming psychic, as if you'd get into trouble or be punished by some individual or even by God. And when you think about people being burned at the stake or hung, your body reacts strongly with chills, shivers, breathing changes, or tension. In contrast, here are the signs that childhood experiences may have blocked your clairvoyance. You saw angels, sparkling lights, or deceased people when you were a child, but your psychic visions diminished as you grew older. You are a highly sensitive person, and you were teased for being crazy, evil, or weird as a child or adolescent. You worry what your family would think if you revealed your psychic gifts. You're afraid that if you opened up psychically, you would make life changes that would disappoint or harm your family. A past life regression by a certified hypnotherapist or an audio tape such as my Past Life Regression with the Angels, published by Hay House, is the most effective way to release these blocks. Your unconscious mind won't frighten you with memories that you can't handle, so please don't worry that a regression would overwhelm you. By far, the most common block to clairvoyance is trying too hard to see. When we push or strain to do anything, we get blocked. That's because any type of strain stems from fear, which originates in the ego. The ego is 100% not psychic. We try too hard when we fear deep down that we might not be able to achieve something, so we try to force it to happen. The underlying negativity, however, can undo hours of positive affirmations and manifestation efforts. The fear becomes a negative prayer that, unfortunately, attracts self-fulfilling prophecies. Everyone has psychic blocks to one degree or another, so the point isn't to be completely clear of them. The point is to be aware of them and deal with them promptly as they arise. Sometimes we become ashamed of our blocks, so we don't admit them to ourselves or others. Yet blocks are nothing to be ashamed of. They are, however, areas of our life that require our attention. A healed healer, to borrow the term from A Course in Miracles, isn't someone who is without issues. That would be nearly impossible in this world. Instead, a healed healer is someone who is aware of their issues and who strives to avoid letting these issues interfere with their divine life mission. Nonetheless, we can heal and release issues that block us psychically. These healing techniques can also have markedly positive results on other life areas, in addition to clairvoyance. They include healing while we're asleep. When we are sleeping, our skeptical mind is also asleep. That's why it's a perfect time to engage in spiritual healing. With a skeptical mind asleep, your ego can't block the angels from performing miraculous clearings on you. So as soon as you're ready to open up your clairvoyance, ask your angels and anyone else in the spirit world with whom you work to come into your dreams. An example of how to ask is, Archangel Michael, I ask that you enter my dreams tonight. Please send healing energy to my third eye and heal away any fears that could be blocking my clairvoyance. Please help me to see clearly with my spiritual sight. Or you can cut cords to family members. If you realize that you're afraid of your, for instance, mom's judgment about your psychic abilities, you can use the cord-cutting techniques described earlier and direct them specifically toward cutting the cords of fear toward your mother. Repeat the process for any person, family member or otherwise, whom you worry about having a negative reaction to your clairvoyance. In addition, cut the cords with any individual from your past who ridiculed or punished you for being psychic. It's also important to get support from like-minded souls. When I was preparing to come out of the spiritual closet and admit my clairvoyance publicly, I was naturally concerned about negative consequences. I was fortunate to become acquainted with a psychiatrist who was also admitting publicly for the first time that he was a clairvoyant. We motivated, supported, and counseled each other with respect to going public about our clairvoyant gifts. We kept reminding each other that if we weren't true to ourselves, we really couldn't help our clients in the best possible way. I think you will also find it helpful to have the encouragement of someone else who's in a similar situation. Pray for such a person or a support group to come into your life, and you will be guided to them. You can also consciously look for support at metaphysical meetings held at bookstores, New Thought churches such as Unity or Religious Science, psychic development courses, or internet bulletin boards related to the psychic arts. You can also release psychic blocks through sacred ceremony. My husband, Stephen Farmer, author of the book Sacred Ceremony, published by Hay House, has led healing ceremonies at many workshops. I've witnessed how these rituals help people release their psychic blocks. You can create your own sacred ceremony for the purpose of opening your clairvoyance. For example, write down a question to your angels such as, "What is blocking my clairvoyance?" and then record whatever impressions you receive. Afterward, light a fire in your fireplace or an outdoor fire ring. Meditate for a moment on releasing the block written on the paper. When you feel truly ready to release it, throw the paper into the fire. You should feel a great sense of relief when you're done. You can also use positive affirmations. You know, I'm amazed by how many bright, knowledgeable metaphysicians complain to me that they're just not visual. When I point out that this statement is a negative affirmation, they realize that these words are blocking their clairvoyance. Then they begin using positive affirmations to describe what they desire instead of what they fear. I am highly visual, and I am profoundly clairvoyant are examples of positive affirmations to say to yourself, even if you don't yet believe that they're true. Believe me, reality always catches up to your affirmed thoughts. You can also call on the angels of clairvoyance. There are specialist angels for every situation, and psychic development is no exception. The angels of clairvoyance monitor and minister to our third eye chakras, helping us to develop spiritual sight. Mentally say, "Angels of clairvoyance, I call upon you now. Please surround my third eye with your healing and clearing energy. I ask for your help and assistance in fully opening my window of clairvoyance now. Thank you." You will probably feel tingles and air pressure changes in your head, especially between your two physical eyes, as the angels of clairvoyance do their healing work. Also, take a look at lifestyle and its link to clairvoyance. There is a huge correlation between how well we treat our bodies and the vividness of our clairvoyance. Our visions are always clearer, more detailed, and more accurate when we're engaged in a consistently healthful lifestyle. Exercise, proper rest, getting outside regularly in nature, eating a light plant-based diet, and avoiding toxins in food and beverages helps us to be clearer channels of divine communication. After using one or more of these healing processes, your clairvoyance should be noticeably brighter and clearer. Anyone can receive messages from their angels. In fact, all of us are receiving messages from our angels right now. If we can't understand these messages, we can ask our angels for assistance and also use some of the methods outlined in this audio tape. When you ask your angels for help or for answers, you aren't bothering them. Please don't project human ego traits or lack or limitations upon your angels. They are egoless, all-loving beings, just like we are in truth. There are no lack of angels and no lack of time or energy within the angels. The angels want to help us with every area of our lives because they want to bring peace to our planet one person at a time. If you think you will be more peaceful if you receive financial assistance, enter into a great love relationship, or secure a better job, then the angels are helping you with a very sacred mission indeed. There is no request that is too trivial or too monumental for your angels. You aren't pulling them off of a more important task when you ask for their assistance, and you certainly aren't bothering them. After all, the number of angels available to help us far exceeds the number of people making such requests. There are billions of angels who are unemployed and bored right now who would love to help you create a more meaningful and fruitful life. Know that you deserve love, attention, and miraculous blessings from God and your angels. They love you unconditionally, no matter what mistakes you may have made in your life. You are just as special to them as anyone else who has ever lived. If it helps, remember that God made us all equally wonderful. To put yourself down is actually to put down God. The ego tries to convince us that we don't warrant help or attention from heaven, that somehow we're bad or unworthy. That is the ego's attempt to prevent us from remembering our true spiritual identity and power. Please don't listen to that voice, because it could delay you from working on your mission. And we need the fruits of your mission on this planet right now. Allow yourself to be open to the messages from your angels. They won't tell you anything that you can't handle. The angels won't try to control your life either. Their messages always help us to feel safer and happier and make every aspect of our lives more meaningful. You can call additional angels to your side or to the side of your loved ones simply by holding the thought that you'd like to be in contact with more angels. You can voice this response directly to God or to the angels. The result is the same because the angels are extensions of God. They're literally God's thought forms of love. Ask for as many angels as you'd like for yourself or someone else. The angelic realm is filled with angels specializing in every human condition. You can ask for angels to help you find a new home, a soulmate, or to heal your body. There are angels who can help you with parenting, with school, and to be more motivated to exercise. The angels want to help you and give you messages, if only you'll let them. And the more that you allow heaven to help you, the more resources that you'll have to give back to the world. When you develop the habit of getting your angels involved in every area of your life, you will function like a member of a successful sports team. You aren't giving the angels complete responsibility for your life. You're simply passing the ball back and forth between your teammates, who are the angels. And when you do this continuously, life becomes so much simpler and more peaceful. While suffering does create spiritual growth, contentment does so even more. You learn through peace, and more important, you can better teach your children and others when you're in a state of joyful relaxation. You don't need to suffer for growth. God certainly doesn't want you to endure pain any more than you'd want your own children to do so. Remember, by tuning into the messages from your angels, you can help to create a peaceful world, one person at a time, starting with you. The angels love you, and they are with you, and their messages are with you now and always.